Welcome to all our dear followers on the Drama Queen channel, the channel that will take you on exciting journeys through the most powerful and beautiful series. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now and let's start our series today. The series begins with Se-ri, a beautiful and very wealthy girl, known as the princess. But not just anyone can please her. Se-ri is very famous and owns her own company, far removed from her family's influence. She constantly forms relationships with celebrities and quickly replaces them simply because she wants people to talk about her more, which helps her company's fame. One day, there's a big family gathering, and each of her siblings tries to prove that the other is a failure to their father. Suddenly, Se-ri arrives and excuses herself from continuing the dinner, but her father surprises her with a huge offer. He tells her that all his children have disappointed him, and that she's the only one who's proven herself in business, which is why he's decided to make her the family's sole heir. Se-ri agrees, but asks for some time to hand over the responsibilities of her company to someone worthy and to take a short vacation. During her trip, she tries her favorite sport, parachuting, but suddenly the weather changes and she enters a powerful hurricane. She loses control and is blown away by the wind for a great distance, until she falls unconscious in a forest in another country. At the same moment, a South Korean man named Ryu is compiling reports on the damage caused by the hurricane when he hears screaming. He goes to find out and finds Se-ri hanging from a tree. She wakes up in a panic, and when she sees him, she thinks he's a spy or a deserted soldier. She tries to find out why he came to her country, but he shocks her and tells her that she's not in her country. She's in Korea now. She tries to explain what happened, but he says that even if she came by mistake, she needs to investigate as the two countries are at war. Se-ri tries to escape, but he warns her that landmines have been scattered due to the hurricane. Unfortunately, he steps on a landmine, and Se-ri flees. His assistant arrives and rescues him, informing the team that there is a spy in the forest who must be captured without harming her. Se-ri continues to run away all day, and the team pursues her and shoots at her, but she is fast and knows how to evade them. Meanwhile, her brothers appear to be searching for her, but in reality, they are hoping she won't return so she doesn't take their place. Se-ri enters a small village, thinking she's returned home, but the people's behavior is strange. She stops in front of Captain Rio's house, when suddenly, he appears and grabs her before anyone sees her. He takes her into his house and gives her food, while he ponders what to do. Se-ri offers him money and a large reward if he helps her return home, but he remains silent. His colleague arrives and tells him that they haven't found the spy yet and must capture her before the authorities find out. The rest of the team arrives and is surprised to find her. Se-ri threatens them that if she surrenders, she'll say they helped her, causing them a huge problem. They think of a solution. One of them suggests that his uncle owns a boat that goes on fishing trips abroad and can smuggle her out, but the trip is in 5 days. Se-ri agrees, but Ryu stipulates that she stay home, not talk to anyone, and that when she returns home, she'll completely forget what happened. She replies that she'll actually forget, as if she has amnesia. A soldier laughs and replies, "Yes, indeed. I've watched a lot of dramas, and all Koreans experience amnesia all the time." Se-ri decided to spend a few days at home and began asking him for all her needs, including food and other supplies. Ryo gave her his office number in case of an emergency, but she didn't know that the electricity was cut off for an hour every night in the village. Indeed, on her first day, she lived the moment alone. She was scared and cried when the power went out, but Ryo caught up with her and brought candles. Se-ri collapsed, explaining that she was a big company and that her company would lose a lot. She didn't know if she would ever get out of this situation safely, and decided to leave as quickly as possible. Ryo reassured her and told her that the squad would help her because he was traveling to the city on business. He prepared everything she might need, even a Kiro badge, a manicuro, and Romano cheese. He left, but as soon as he arrived in the city, he found the officer called Cho to warn him of the disaster, and the fiery brigadier arrived himself to investigate an old incident that had happened to his brother, which had led to his death. He suspected it was a plot. Meanwhile, the squad was with Se-ri, fulfilling her requests. They asked her not to answer any calls for security reasons. When they arrived at the camp, they learned that Officer Cho was about to start searching the houses, so they called Ryu, who took a very fast car to arrive before them. The soldiers had finished searching the rest of the village and went to Ryu's house. They saw the lights on, even though they thought he wasn't there, so they insisted on searching. They found Se-ri in the basement and asked her for her identity. Ryu arrived and told them she was his fiancée, but they didn't believe them and demanded proof. She told them she worked for the army on a secret mission, and her identity was forbidden from being revealed. The night passed peacefully, and Ryo apologized for having to claim she was a spy to justify her actions. The village women brought food for Rio and his fiancée, and whispered that he must have married her against his will because she wasn't as beautiful as him. Se-ri got angry and told Rio that if anyone ever asked him about the reason for the breakup, he should make it clear he was sad and didn't eat in front of anyone, to prove their relationship was real. She told him that she had seen his books and liked them because they reflected refined taste. She felt like she was dreaming about the 2 days she had spent, as if she had parachuted into another country, living with an officer, becoming his fiancé and a spy as well. She returned home and told the group that she was rich and ate from the best restaurants, while they were finishing all their food. The village women invited her to the village chief's birthday party, but she declined. But when she learned that the dean's wife was powerful and could help Rio get promoted, she changed her mind and went to her. She gave her a gift and praised her to an uncanny degree. When Rio found out, he laughed and said, "Does she really think she's my fiancé?" Meanwhile, Cho was investigating, wondering if Se-ri was really a spy. Se-ri continued to praise the dean's wife, saying that Rio respected her but couldn't express it. Rio was standing outside the house waiting for her. When she saw him, she thanked him for everything and told him that she was indebted to him and was trying to help him get. The next day, she woke up to the smell of coffee and breakfast, made by Rio himself. Before he left, she drew a heart for him with her hands. When asked about the meaning of this gesture, one of them said, "Maybe a fly came and killed her." But our friend from the soap opera said, "No, it's a sign of love." At the market, Se-ri was with the brigadier's wife and saw her company's products. She was delighted to find them selling them. She began explaining the ingredients and how to use them, and all the women were amazed by her knowledge. At the same time, the brigadier's daughter arrived and asked about the car. She turned out to be his real fiancé. Ryu was surprised to see her, as she had been away for a long time. Meanwhile, Se-ri, who was responsible for eavesdropping on VIPs, informed Officer Park that there was a strange woman in Rhea's house and became suspicious of her, suggesting she might be the cause of the family's collapse. The next day, when Ryu left for work, Se-ri went out to say goodbye and expressed her feelings of love to him in front of the village women to spite them. When he left, they tried to approach her, but she refused. Ryu asked the squad to monitor her and follow up on her requests. One of them, obsessed with TV series, kept asking her about the ending of the episodes, so she spoiled the whole thing for him and said, "I wish I hadn't asked." On the day of her departure, she promised each member of the group a gift, telling Rio that it was a tomato tree she'd planted in front of the house so he could make a salad and remember it. They arrived at the boat, and Rio took her. She thanked him for everything, and he rowed with her to take her to the farthest point. However, a police boat stopped them and told them that driving at night was a violation and they had to turn back. When they asked them, they said they were on a love trip, and the night barely passed. In the middle of the night, Rio received a message from Se-ri that she had decided to return to her daughters by any means necessary, and he went out looking for her. He found her on a mountain with a parachute, trying to send a message in her voice to her country. He warned her that the army might have detected the signal and that they were coming within 10 minutes, but she told him she had to turn back. He told her that if she crossed the border, she would be shot because her nationality was unknown. After Ryu informed Se-ri that she would be secretly traveling with a band and returning without them, he asked her to prepare herself so they could travel to the city together to complete the travel paperwork. Park had been eavesdropping and overheard everything. He immediately went to Cho and informed him. Cho, in turn, arrested the bodyguards and began torturing them to learn the truth about Se-ri. But they refused, loyal to their leader. When Ryu learned what had happened, he went to their rescue and reported Cho for corruption. Se-ri apologized to the band for what had happened and drew a love heart for all of them. Ryu was annoyed and mockingly asked, "How many hearts do you have to give away?" The next day, they boarded the train, but it broke down, and they had to wait 10 hours. They got off to buy food and supplies and spent a night together, a night that flew by, each of them cherishing a beautiful memory. Later, they arrived in the city, and Se-ri took a picture there. She asked Ryu to take one with her, but he refused, fearing they would never have a memory together. At the same time, Se-ri's brother learned where the thief, Gyung, was. He spoke to him on the phone and threatened to never let him go. Gyung saw Se-ri and confirmed that she was still alive. He asked her brother about her, who told him that she had died in an accident. While Ryu was watching Se-ri on the street, standing there talking to her, a man saw them and hit him, assuming he was threatening her. However, the man turned out to be her friend, set up an appointment, and walked beside her like her bodyguard. Se-ri was overjoyed by Rhea's concern for her. His grandmother saw them at a restaurant and informed Rhea's fiancé, who was furious and asked him to come to the family dinner and explain his relationship with Se-ri. Meanwhile, Kyung was negotiating with the gang, telling them that if anything happened to him, no one would know where to find Se-ri. At dinner, Rhea's fiancé and his family announced that they had postponed the wedding several times and that it would take place within a month. After dinner, Ryu invited Se-ri, and when the snow fell, she told him that in her village there is a legend that says that whoever sees snow with someone falls in love with them. Meanwhile, Se-ri's brother and his wife decided to prevent her from returning in exchange for them giving up their right to Kyung. Cho, however, was able to prove his innocence and told Kyung that he must protect Se-ri's presence in the village. Se-ri said goodbye to the villagers and promised to visit them again. Before leaving, she went on a trip with the band, and they sang together and had a wonderful time. Then, Ryo told her that he had a mission and couldn't reach her. He wished her to return to her life and to remember them well. As she said goodbye, her eyes filled with tears. But Park was eavesdropping, and when he learned that they had moved, he tried to stop them. On the way, they were attacked by a pursuing car. Ryo jumped on a motorcycle and opened fire to protect Se-ri, but he was injured, and the soldier accompanying them was also injured. Se-ri refused to leave him and drove them to the hospital. Ryo needed a blood transfusion, and unfortunately, only her blood type was available, so she donated. Because the operation was successful, Se-ri stayed by his side and confessed that she had been selfish before meeting him, but he made her feel safe. When Ryo woke up, he was upset that she hadn't traveled and accused her of putting everyone in danger. Se-ri left his room, sad. The nurse told him that his girlfriend had been crying throughout the operation, and that she had saved him. Ryo came out and apologized, and she told him that just as he had saved her before, she should have saved him too. Meanwhile, Cho ordered his men to look for Ryo, and Ryo's fiancé went looking for an apartment in the village, but the women agreed to drive her away. At the hospital, the squad visited Se-ri, telling her they were tired of her repeated goodbyes. They made fun of Ryo, saying that he was a captain and couldn't pretend to be asleep when she came to visit him. Elsewhere, Choi ordered his men to search everywhere for Ryu. In the village, his fiancée and her mother were searching for an apartment. During their search, they encountered the village women who were determined to shoo her away by any means necessary, believing her to be an intruder. Her apartment contained strange things: animals in the bathroom, chicks on the balcony, books in the refrigerator, and pickles in a box of chocolates. At the hospital, the squad visited Se-ri, but she was annoyed by them for always saying goodbye to her and then never returning home. They mocked Ryu for never pretending to sleep despite his rank. After their departure, Se-ri asked Ryu why he hadn't fired the last shot. He replied that he was afraid of hitting her because he couldn't bear the thought of anything bad happening to her. Meanwhile, Guillaume was standing outside Rhea's house, waiting to check on Se-ri. With him was Rhea's fiancé, whom he had met. Choi discovers Rhea's whereabouts and heads to the hospital with a large force. There, Se-ri demands to see him. However, she is frightened when she sees him with soldiers and hides. Meanwhile, Choi begins investigating Ryu for shooting soldiers and protecting a spy from another country. Ryo's father, the head of the army, intervenes and postpones the investigation. Choi flees, and his father reprimands him for putting the entire family in danger for a strange woman. At that moment, Se-ri was sitting with a girl, and when the girl found out that she was from Korea and from the same country as her favorite singer, she was surprised and said, "Ryo is coming." And then left with him. Then Ryo told his fiancé that he couldn't lie more, and that he loved Se-ri. She replied coldly, "You look tired or delusional, and then when you're going to travel, you will forget it at all." He tried to make things easy and he lied, and he said they made sure that Se-ri was fine and waiting for her to come back. But then, Se-ri's father officially announced that she was missing and that they had lost hope of her return, and her death was announced. Later, Ryo's fiancé saw a magazine with the news of the death of businesswoman Se-ri, and began to doubt. Ryo started looking for her and saw hospital camera videos, and found out that she was with Clouds. While he was out, his fiancée appeared and told him that she knew the girl he liked, and threatened him that if he had not returned to his mind, they would report them both. He replied, "I saw that I loved him, he died, and since then I decided that I would not allow anyone to hurt the one I love." On the other hand, Se-ri wanted to check on Ryo, but Fionji advised her to stay away from him for his safety. And he said to her, "He will be fine if I swear. And the solution is that you will marry me." Although he knew that she loved Ryo, he insisted, and gave her a ring. Ryo arrived at the House of the Clouds, cut off the electricity, and defeated the guards, but Gam threatened her that he would report it if she went back to Ryo. Se-ri went out and yelled at him in the hospital and told Ryo that she would get married Clouds and travel with him. Ryo agreed and said, "If this makes you comfortable, I'm hilarious for you," and he walked. I caught him in the storm because he was injured, but the gasoline was finished, and they had to go around where they were staying. Elsewhere, an enemy of Ryo's father knew that Se-ri was a spy and that she was with the army chief's son, so he decided to use the information to arrest her and to bring down Ryo's father. On the same night, Se-ri was sitting next to Ryo, and they were warming up, so he asked her why she would marry Clouds, and she replied, "I knew you broke your engagement, and your fiancé was going to report me." It comforts everyone. He slept on her shoulder, remembering his late brother, and the hour he gave him the last day he saw him. Meanwhile, Choi broke into the House of the Clouds with a large number of soldiers, and began to ask about Se-ri's whereabouts. Choi's goal, not the money, he was looking for power. Ryo came home and asked Se-ri to spend the feast with him, and she agreed, and Choi was keeping them. They slept together, and the villagers were talking that Ryo's fiancé had bought an apartment, and that she was trying to buy gifts for the feast, so she sold the ring and bought everything from a merchant, including the watch. On her way back, she was kidnapped by armed men, and forced her to speak and say goodbye to Ryo. Ryo came home, met him besieged, beat him, and arrested him. As for Se-ri, she found herself being held in the house of an unknown person, and asked herself, "Who is this time that I want to hurt me?" When Ryo found out that I didn't hold on to him, he suspected that there was a mistake. When his fiancée visited him, he asked her if she had anything to do with Se-ri's kidnapping, and he began to suspect that his father was the reason. He was sure of the information, and told his fiancée, "Tell your father, if something happened to Se-ri, he would lose his only son as he lost the second." She came out crying, and said to herself, "He must sit in prison for a while to be polite and marry me. Is the passport in good health?" Park's son gave Ryo an hour and told him that he had seen strange men who had caught Se-ri. I was shocked when he saw that his brother's watch and the clock started playing a big role in the story. News was published that Ryo is the son of the army chief on his orders, to put pressure on his father. In the leader's house, Se-ri thinks about Ryo, and tells his mother about her life, that she is from a rich family, and that she truly loved Ryo. Ryo's father makes sure of her identity, and thinks about what to do with her. You see the pictures of Jae and sit thinking about it all night. Ryo gets out of prison after the news of his real identity spread, and he goes to his father's house and turns to Se-ri and confesses his love for her. He tells them, "I will not live without it." While Se-ri was playing the piano, she heard a melody that I had known for a long time, and was surprised that Ryo was the one who played it, and it was a gift for his deceased brother. She cries, and says to him, "This melody made me love life again." He tells her where and when she heard it. At the conclusion of the events, Ryo's father's house is being raided on charges of sheltering a spy. But there is no evidence for you, and the accusation is overturned against Choi. Ryo helps Se-ri to escape to the border with the help of his band. In a touching moment of farewell, he says to her, "I lived my best days with you. I never expected to love the girl who went down to me with a parachute." Se-ri works as a surprise and suddenly appears in the company, to everyone's astonishment. She makes offers and discounts on the occasion of her return, and puts her brother's wife at her own. Park admits to Ryo that his brother was intending to expose Choi's corruption, and he was liquidated. And Park decides to confess, and delivers him the hour when all the evidence. The police arrested Clouds. Dan, Ryo's ex-fiancé, helps him despite her love for him and reveals that Ryong is the one who helped them escape. Choi is tried, and he is sentenced to life imprisonment, but he escapes from court with the help of his men. He calls Ryo and tells him that the time for revenge has begun, and the confrontation will be in Se-ri's country. His country through a tunnel. He wakes up to his stomach. The distance is long with great risks, and of course, as we know, if a person's heart is controlled by his mind, he becomes absent, and Ryo's father finds out and arrests the band and them as well, and orders them to return Ryo to his country in complete secrecy, and the band travels in disguise with a musical band. At that time, she begins to be sad and thinks about their memories together. She walks in her street and suddenly finds Ryo in front of her and is shocked and cannot believe herself. He approaches her and tells her that she told him before about her street and informs her that she sees him looking for her to hurt her and that he is there to protect her. She is happy to see them for a long time and he stays with her in the house. She tells him that she makes him food, her fridge is full of water, and he tells her, so after all this glory and money, there is nothing but water, so she defeats him on pasta and the next day she buys him clothes suitable for her daughters and everyone is disgusted by his name everywhere she goes, and when someone asks her about him she knows him from their bodyguard who doesn't know where to go and no one helps him and asks for help, and she is a good person with honesty and they live in an apartment and she brings him food and does his homework with him and gets a call for them to solve it together, and Sierra tells him that he is definitely luxurious. He responds to her that he has to take a risk to know his location, and when he goes to the address he finds a real sister and people waiting for him, and he beats them all but doesn't get beaten because he is a tough guy. At that time Siri is leaving the company and is surprised by Shakyu in front of her and runs away from him, but her phone falls from her and he grabs it and distorts it and calls Ryo and tells him to arrive quickly so he can see Siri before she says goodbye, and he reaches him and she sees him and takes her to the gun. She is in the lice room and the electricity is cut off and the show escapes and she passes by safely, but he is injured because of the gang, and a doctor runs to the house, and her brother learns from the Doctor that there is a man with a strange accent and he was injured in Se-ri's house. The next day, Se-ri is visited by a large gang with a picture and she tells them that whoever can reach him will get a huge amount of money, and Se-ri's helpers cannot believe the audacity and ferocity she has become, and she responds that she must protect the one she loves, just as he used to protect her, and the group searches for Riga and Se-ri everywhere, but no one notices, and Se-ri returns home and finds Rio drinking, and he tells her that he wants to live with him forever, marry him, and have a daughter with her. He wants to stay by her side until he gets tired of Karmish tea and sees gray hair, and they finish drinking while crying. The next day, the group knows where City's company is, and they want to enter, but the security causes a problem for them, and they escape. Rio sees them and goes to them, and when they see him, they are deeply affected and happy that they saw him. Finally, he called Se-ri to tell her that the band is there. Se-ri arrives immediately and is happy that she saw them again. She takes them to her house and invites them to one of the band members. Nero says, "Oh, passionate love, when will you return with us?" And that they must return to their country in a few days. She will not be able to return again because of the dangers facing them. Se-ri hears them by chance and says to me while she is sad that they are done hurting and will be fine and can return to their country. She can protect herself here. Se-ri's brother is sitting with Shaw and they agree on how to get rid of Sar. Her brother's wife knows information about the house is empty and she thinks the band has left and she keeps crying, but the light suddenly turns on and they make a surprise for her on the occasion of her birthday. They do not know why she is crying. Shaw watches her and celebrates her birthday every year even if he is not with her. They hold a beautiful celebration and each one of them gives her a gift and waits for a gift, which is a ring so that she always remembers him, and a secret card gives the group a lot of money so that they can buy everything they need and spend a nice time together at night. When Park goes out for a walk, he sees his face and asks him to betray Ryu again, and this time he tells him that his men in the village are waiting for a sign from him, but they want to kill his son and wife, and he has to agree. He agrees with the group that they will travel and will find them when he finishes his mission and gets lost. Of course, he knows what is happening somewhere else. Abusir knows that her brother wanted to kill her and was taking the inheritance and everything from him, but his warlike wife entered with pictures of Seryang and knows them, and she agreed with Junjae that she would steal her brother, and the father asks him to prove this to him as soon as possible, and Sar's brother calls her and tells her that her mother is sick and she has to come quickly, and he is by his side and tells him that the time has come for them to get rid of Sar once and for all. On her way, she finds herself surrounded by many cars. He goes there and finds himself surrounded by a large number of criminals, and Parky confesses to Rio what happened with Tashwish and they know the truth, and Se-ri knows that her brother's call was a trap. He took advantage of the situation and knows where Shaw is and goes to him, and everything is done according to his plan at the time when the whole squad got out of Se-ri's car and the beating starts, and they are able to finish off the gang quickly and go to catch him with Se-ri's people, and a big fight starts and Tashwa goes outside and Rayan returns and points the gun at him and is about to shoot him, and Se-ri sees him and goes and stands in front of Rio, but unfortunately she is shot and loses consciousness and is unable to move from the shock and terror she could die from the bullet, and runs away, and the squad leaves work end. Their only concern is to save Se-ri from death and transfer her to the hospital quickly, and the doctor tells them that her condition is critical and she will go into surgery immediately, and Ria is standing shocked and blames himself for being the reason and wishes that Cece would get up and stay by her side and follow her condition for days. The group is outside the hospital waiting for Sierra to get better. Rio's father knows that Rio and the group haven't returned and is still there. He prepares himself for the problems that will happen to him. He informs the police that the person who shot him is also injured and they carry him. Unfortunately, the bullet did not kill him, and he still intends to take revenge. Cyrus' brother and his wife are not happy and want Rio to leave because the bodyguard who saved her and took her to the hospital prevents him from entering to her. Sierra goes upstairs and opens her eyes and keeps looking for Rio and talks on the phone and tells him that there is a bodyguard who left the person who is guarding him and reached him. He is happy and tells her not to mess with her again. She enters. A bodyguard leaves the person he is guarding and reaches him happily and tells her not to mess with her again. The group enters immediately in great joy, and Rio asks them how they know that she woke up. They put a listening device in Siri's room to check on her condition. They also recorded dangerous things that happened, including a recording of her mother crying over Siri's condition and asking her to forgive her for everything she did to her, and that journalist films them from another building and spreads a rumor that there is a new love story. The minister laughs at people's comments and their sweet talk about Rio and her family. She sees the news and her brother goes with two guards who want to enter, but Rio stops him. He beats him and the guards as well and distorts him. He sends pictures and news about Rio and the political leader to destroy Rio's father. There is a policeman who goes to Siri and they find out if there was an attempt to kidnap Yasser before the incident and that the person responsible fled from another country. They immediately ask Siri for information that helped them. Se-ri asks to speak in front of the rest of her family. When they gather, she shows a recording of her brother and his wife talking and the money they paid. The father removes his son from his share and tells him that he is no longer part of the family. The policeman asks them to investigate. At that time, the political leader goes to Ryo's father and shows him pictures of Ryo in another country and that she will be a disgrace to the Ryokan of his country. He asks him to resign quietly. He responds to him and tells him that Ryo has a cotton mouth so that Se-ri will return again because she is a rich girl and the country will benefit from her money. They will return within a week. He calls Se-ri's brother's wife and tells her that Se-ri's personal guard is an officer in the army of another country. And the fugitive, she knows the policeman all the time and knows his location. When he is on his way to him, the police are watching him and reach him before he escapes and activates the gun, but he finds the police everywhere near the building and they ask him to drop the weapon. What does he know that he is dead? He tries to hit Ryo, but the police kill him while he is sleeping on the ground and nothing happens to them. You see him dying. He tells him that after the pictures of his country and that he will die in this country, if his father comes back, he is the one who will die. The police arrest Ryo and they also go to the hospital and arrest the group. She stole while she was tired and tries to defend them, but her condition is difficult. They start investigating the group. After that, Ryo finds out that his father is a big politician and there will be problems if the news spreads. He says that he is responsible for everything and that the group was taking orders from you. If he checked the cameras, they might know something about him, but all the videos are issued. How good a person he is and he was helping people. He continues with his lie and says that he was exploiting Se-ri and wants to bring her back with him because of her rich and the policeman informs Se-ri of Ryo's words, so she tells him that he is lying and wanted to help her and risked his life for her, and they meet to know the truth. He is still continuing with the lie and he starts to change. She convinces him that this is just hurting himself and nothing more, but he has made his decision and she goes out upset and falls on the ground. He sees her and his heart is pounding with sadness. The police examine the device and know the messages she sent and the reason for his presence in the country. Ryo's situation and the group's situation began to improve and they get out of trouble a little because they are there to stop Cho in a completely different place. Jae-jo's plane comes with him and he says goodbye to the country with Dan and thanks her for her help and wishes to see her again in better circumstances. After a while, he receives a call from the gang and from Se-ri's brother that they kidnapped Dana and if he does not back down from the trip and meet them, they will kill her. He cuts the ticket and decides to help Dan. Whatever happens happens. He goes to the gang's location and a big clash happens between them. He is able to eliminate them, but unfortunately, he gets injured. He is on his way to the hospital, he can't bear it anymore and dies, and Jeong-hyeok has spent his life doing many wrong things, but he died while fixing himself and is happy that he was at least able to save Dan, and Se-ri enters a dangerous cycle, and the world turns upside down, and everyone who loves her prays for her safety, and the police do their duty and go with Royal to the hospital, and Ryo stays standing next to Se-ri for days, watching her from afar, sad, and Ryo's father sends an official letter asking them to bring Ryo and the squad back in exchange for services or new cooperation, and the police agree. And the political leader finds out and threatens to make a scandal, but Ryo's father tells him that he knows that all of Sha's actions were done under his orders, so it is better for everyone to keep things together, and he gets her up and stays well, and her mother knows her, and he watches her while she is in a coma, and when she wakes up, he can't confront her and walks, and Se-ri asks to see Ryo one last time before he leaves, so his mother talks to the policeman and asks him, and he waits for them to go to the delivery area, and Se-ri is late, and after the delivery is done, she arrives. Se-ri runs to Ryo and he runs to her as well and they say goodbye to each other and he returns to him and the band to their country and they stop on the way and he reaches the political leader and orders the soldiers to finish off Ryo and the band was safe from Ryo's father, but here the army commander appears in a scene full of greatness and finishes off the soldiers and the leader. The politician and Ryo finally returns home with the band and we go to Dan who is in a difficult situation and decides to take revenge on those who killed him with the help of her uncle and is able to find out who incited him to be killed and it is Se-ri's brother and his wife and she collects a lot of information and sends it to Se-ri. Of course, Se-ri does her duty and informs the police and they are arrested and Se-ri returns home sad but before she sleeps she finds a message on her phone from someone who took her phone and wrote a lot of messages of advice as if it was his way of life and a system but the difference is that the system was written by a person who loves him and cares for him and Dawn's mother gives a gift to the women of the village which is the latest beauty products from Se-ri's company and on each box his name is a picture of one of the women of the village and Ryo is in a group dinner meaning that he was transferred to the band in. the army, and he will travel to many concerts outside the country, and one of the band is appointed in his place, and his eye becomes another sister's, which is harmful to the company because it decided to travel and tour the world and is looking for Rio everywhere she goes as if it is waiting for him. And just as fate played its part the first time we got into the army, all they saw were soldiers, and soldiers who despaired of life, and between a rich girl who only thinks about living on money, how much she will pay and how much she will spend, where and when, and forgot that money is not everything because money could not get her out of her ordeal during the period she lived in another country. And fate plays its game again and they see each other, but this time each one of them has decided that he will not abandon the person he truly loves with all his heart, and thus we have reached the end of the series. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which series you want a summary.